In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to create a face, an organic model using NURB surfaces. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is to show you what it is that we're going to be accomplishing in this lesson. Alright, here we have the polygonal surface that was created off of our NURB surfaces. You can see that in this file we have 4 image planes: the back of the head, the side, 3/4 view, and the front view. And this these image planes, this file setup is available to you in doc sharing. Will help you to launch your lesson. The first thing that we're going to do is to create the curves. And you can see that these are the curves that I had used for this construction. And we will be creating NURB surfaces from that. You can see those here. Now with the NURB surfaces, they are simply a rectangular or square patch. That's all they can be, is a patch surface. And you can see that each one of these has 4 sides, and though they may have variance in how many spans they have, they still are just 4-sided patch surfaces, which are then put together by selecting those NURB surfaces and convert NURBs to polygons. This is the basic setup that we'll be using. Number U and number V spans are 1:1, and then this selection is very important: per span number of isoperms. So once we have that, we apply that, and you can see that we are able to get a polygonal surface off of that. And once we have that, we combine those surfaces and then go back in and weld our verts and adjust our normals, conform average normals in reverse if we need to. And that is the basic construction of our NURBs to polyhead surface. And we have a basic head that we can use to launch into our 2.5D detail programs. Alright, so with that, let's go ahead and begin our lesson, how to create the NURBs patches. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and turn off visibility on what has been created. And we're going to check our working file. I have it set up so that if you tap the space bar and hover over the different orthographic views, you will be able to access very quickly the 3/4 view, the front view, and the side view. And then of course the perspective view. You also have a back view available, which I've set up, so you can access the back view as well. And that's simply going through panels, orthographic, and accessing back. And you can see if you select on one of these over here and your setup does not come back, you can easily access them one by one and go ahead and reset them up if you like that particular workflow. Alright, so I'm going to back to perspective on this one for the time being. The first thing I want to do is start with the eyes and the mouth, if those are central regions, for you to be able to lay out your initial patches and launch off of. Now, the typical workflow that I go by is to start laying in my patches for the eyes and then work out from there. And the same thing with the mouth, and work out from there. And I will demonstrate why that's important as we work forward. Now, I've supplied these maps, I'll call them the image planes, and it's a good idea to map out what it is that you're going to be doing before you start, even if it's a basic turnaround pose sketch. To go ahead and think through your patch surfaces before you start to model them. The reason being is that patches can be more difficult if you don't do that, simply because you don't have anything to build off of. Alright, so important to have a plan. The first thing I'm going to do is come up here to I've started a tray of my own, and I have history in that, as well as my basic tools that I'll be using. You go ahead and do that as well, or you can access them up here. My curve tool that I typically use for creating the curves is Create EP Curve Tool, and let's open the settings. I'm using 3 cubic as well as uniform, so as I plot in my curves, you know which tool I'm using. And now I'm going to simply begin to click out my spline around the red areas, and then once I've reached the end, I'll click the Enter key, and that will be my first basic spline. Alright. And then I'm going to come right down here on the inner circle and plot out just as many as I have spans or EPs, edit points, so that I can get a clean loft without rebuilding too much. Alright, I have my, got a little bit of pinch here, so I'm just going to define, let's get that shaped up before I try to loft that or just create a problem loft surface. Alright, so with that, I'll come up here to select my object, my first spline, shift key down, I'll select my second spline, come right up here to go to surfaces, come right up here to surfaces, loft, and I'm using auto reverse cubic, and right in here is where I'll put the number of spans that I want to create. To start with, I'm just going to put 2. I'll loft that. You can see that I got a lofted surface here.